Hello to you both.
Hi, Carissa.
Hi, lovely to speak with you.
Lovely to speak with you too. Okay, so I'm going to ask these questions with specific names in front of them because people like to do that, but if one of you feels like you have a better answer to the question, please jump in. I don't know what your strengths are. So, Aaron, I had this one for you. This isn't your typical the dead return narrative. What drew you to the emotional angle of Revival, and how did you balance the mystery with the character-driven storyline?
I mean, you're completely right. It is the emotion. It was there in the comic. There was something that was like embedded in what Tim and Mike had created that was the sister story. I thought was really wonderful. That also came in the Midwest, which, Luke and I are both from small West Midwestern towns. And, you take that and you add in these really weird characters that just feel like they're out of a Coen Brothers film, and they've got this quirky nature to it. I mean, he calls it a rural noir, which I was like, oh, I don't know, that's cool. I haven't seen that before. And then you then take that and it's a murder mystery, which is okay, that's a lot of fun. I know how to play with those tropes. We can have something with that. But the person is now alive and trying to solve their own murder. It's like, whoa, that is now an entirely different hook. And when you add in familial elements and everything, it just takes the stakes to an entirely different level. And I think so anytime you have all of those elements that can come together, and not to mention a horror story, that's got sci-fi elements and horror elements and thriller. Like all of that just, adds, it creates such an environment where you have to have so much empathy for your characters to get unstuck, to get out of these crazy situations. And yeah, it was a beautiful thing on the page, and we're very, very lucky to get to adapt it.
Mhm.
And now that I hear that you're both from a rural area, Luke, the comic has a really strong sense of place. How
Yeah.
important was it to bring that rural Wisconsin feel to the series?
Oh, it was imperative. It's why I wanted to do this. I mean, I know that world. I knew that world. I'd actually developed sort of a story that took place in a similar environment with somewhat similar themes, and that's sort of what drew me to this because I was like, oh, Revival does this much better. I would like to actually do this. So yeah, I grew up. A lot of fondness for where I grew up was super, super small town in the Midwest, surrounded by farms, landlocked, and weird stuff happens, and part of it is that Tim Seeley, the creator of the comic, grew up in Wausau, Wisconsin, and a lot of the stuff that happens in the book, actually happened to him. A lot of the people are real. Obviously, the dead didn't come back to life. That's not real. But there's, it's a very lived in story. It's a very real story, and that's a big part of what drew me to it.
And Aaron, there's like almost a mischievous tone to how the story unfolds. There's chaotic cremations, creepy revivers, and alongside the two daughters who just want to really please their dad. And how did you achieve that balance in the writer's room between focusing on the really fun elements of who gets to be creepy and who's weird and and keeping the family kind of strong
Yeah.
and familial?
No, wonderful question. I think, one of the things with my company, I made a lot of horror films in my time. And one of the mottos we always have is horror with heart, right? And that's what I felt on the page. And that's what we were trying to push the entire time here, where there's emotion to it, there's stakes to it. And I think, but at the same time, like we wanted to play with tone. We were not afraid of like making this, okay, this part's going to be really ridiculous and fun and this part and funny and comedic even but now we're going to deal with like real melodrama and real stakes and what's there. And I think if you can just ramp up and ramp down in the right way, I think tone could be such a fun way to change the audience's expectations of what it is they're watching. And so but while still playing in this world where it's a murder mystery and you're like, oh, it's this person, oh no, it's this person, and you could still have that fun. But then at each of those moments we would always call them opportunities. It was just like, even if we didn't know what to do, it was an opportunity. And it was like, okay, how do we now take this scene? This is a fine scene, but can we add something, some characterization to this scene now? Can we do a hint of a thing, that this could even play in season two, but we're going to continue to take, here's a sentence that we have that we're going to continue to add to it and just build and layer and layer and layer and kind of try to create something that can become more engaging because TV is about the characters. It just 100% is. It sounds like a cliche when people say it,
Not at
but
all.
like when I was a kid and I was watching, Friends and Seinfeld, I didn't care what their hijinks were. I cared about what they wanted to do within those hijinks. I cared about their interactions. When I watch Last of Us, it's not about the undead. It's about Joel and Ellie, and every time he says "baby girl" and I want to cry. That's what pulls me in. And one of my favorite moments of episode 1 is actually the conversation of Dana and Em in the car,
Yeah.
right? Because there's so much emotion. There's so much going on, and there's things that are set up there that you'll find out in much later episodes too, and why that emotion is so important. So that was it. That was the hook from the get-go. So I appreciate that question.
Well,
Yeah,
I
dude.
feel like you guys are my people.
Oh, wonderful. We'll take it.
Amazing. Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah.
so much. Yeah, I need to wrap, but I really appreciate it, and I loved the first 4 episodes. They're great.
Oh, thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. You'll be getting more. You'll be getting more. We're very excited for you to see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carissa,
Cheers.
bye.